It is Indiana in the Morning, presented this morning by First Commonwealth Bank here on AM 1160 WCCS 101.1 FM every year. When a given month comes along, it is the beginning of an observance of something or another. Sometimes those are silly things. Sometimes they are quite serious things. Many times they are health-related, like we just went through Heart Month. And those are wonderful things to celebrate and commemorate. And there's another wonderful thing we want to commemorate starting today. It is Women's History Month, all through the month of March. And Indiana County Commissioner Sherene Hess happens to be one of those, a woman. And she has joined us here this morning to talk about that, the role of women in history. And Sherene, when we got to talking about this, it just reminded me that as a county commissioner, you have a pretty big set of shoes to fill. Mm-hmm. B States, of course, was one of the first, if not
Correct.
The first, Indiana County Commissioner who was a woman.
Correct, B States. And then, of course, Patty Ivanka was our most recent woman commissioner. And yes, many, many women have paved the way for lots of us to do the things that we want to do and we love to do. And I'm really honored to be another woman filling that role in our society.
It's interesting to me that we think, there is a term out there, pioneering woman.
Yes.
And, they think about pioneers being in the olden days, if you will, a century or more ago. Mm-hmm. But with the way society is, there are pioneer women who are still walking and working in their industries even today.
That's right. And the National Women's History Month theme this year is honoring the trailblazing women, which is very much like a pioneering force. And they're talking this year about women in labor and business. And the Women's History Month is designated to honor women who've challenged the role of women. And this year it's going to be women in the business and in the paid labor force that they're honoring. But I would like to give some recognition to some local groups that are working here on issues related to women's rights in the workforce and in politics and education and elsewhere. And I would start with our Indiana-Pennsylvania Business and Professional Women's Club, and is headed up by Sarah Kitchen. And we have the Indiana Armstrong Clarion Central Labor Council, whose leadership includes Bertha Saccone. We have our AAUW, who's advancing equity in the workplace as a main mission of theirs, headed up by Susan Wheatley. And also like to mention Vicki Stelma from the League of Women Voters, which, although the League is an organization that works for all issues, it was started by women to help women when they first got the right to vote. So lots of people doing great things there locally, working for equity in the workplace.
And I'm sure that with all of those groups that are woman-oriented and began as women's advocacy groups from one angle or another, they all have the folks who led the way and hold them up as certainly paragons of what it is that they stand for.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the honorees are women like Barbara Franklin, who was the former Secretary of Commerce, helped to increase number of women in government, worked on issues related to doing business with other countries in the world. We've got Secretary of Labor who's being honored. We've got equal pay activists like Lily Ledbetter, who is really urging women and minorities to fight for their civil rights. We've got the Kate Mulaney, who organized the first all-female labor union. We've got Lucy Parsons, who was a labor organizer in the 1850s, so very early on. And we have Barbara Rhodes was the flight attendants union leader. They're honoring women who are CEOs. Nina Vaca, who was the chair and CEO of the an information technology services company. And these are all women who not only do their paid work, but they volunteer an enormous amount of time to keep on trailblazing for women's rights in the workplace and in business.
Indiana County Commissioner Sherene Hess with us this morning as we commemorate and celebrate the start of Women's History Month. And I'm sure that the county commissioners will issue a proclamation in honor of women, and that'll be coming at your next meeting, I would guess.
I believe so. Mm-hmm.
Are there other events planned or other recognitions planned within Indiana County that folks should know about, or is that?
You know what? I will have to get back to you on that. I'm not nothing's coming to mind at the moment.
All
But
right.
I would
Well,
imagine
all you women's groups, let's get to work on that.
Yes, please let us know, and we'll be glad to advertise them.
Absolutely. The challenges of women in the workplace environment, we hear about them on a national scale, and what some of those challenges are. Of course, the balance between family and your work, for women especially.
That is true.
It's difficult. I think sometimes we think that those challenges don't exist for men or should not exist for men, but certainly as a family, those all need to be paid attention to. But for women, especially in those early nurturing years with children, that's a tremendous effort, or it can be a tremendous effort to balance that correctly.
Agree. It's certainly getting easier. You're certainly seeing businesses work towards better policies on that for men and women. We recognize that both fathers and mothers want to be involved in their kids' lives, and especially early on, it is so important. But the other issues that these groups are tackling include pay equity for women. Often women start out at lower wages, and of course that they never really catch up, and that affects women in retirement age. Talking about harassment in the workplace, we still, many women have paved the way to better those kinds of things, but there's still issues out there. When we talk about women having more difficulties getting promotions and just getting recognition in the workplace.
And certainly having women in great leadership roles and as leaders of companies, every step forward is a step that is going to pull along the whole issue for women, and that's why these steps need to continue to be taken.
Agreed.
And if as a society we can remove obstacles, then that's going to do so much more to advance the cause of women. And when you advance the cause of women, you advance the cause of society.
Very well said, Todd. And I think everybody has a role to play. Our women, our young men, and all of society really benefits whenever women's rights are upheld and made a priority.
As a county commissioner, you can tell me this if I'm wrong, but I'm sure you have the opportunity to speak to young women and young girls who are going to be moving forward, making their college choices or their career choices,
Yes.
and offer them some guidance. Is that true?
Yes. In fact, I spoke a couple of weeks ago to some Girl Scouts, and they were working on their government badge. And I have to tell you, I was very impressed with their questions, very inquisitive, very well thought out questions. These are young women who are really thinking about politics and what it means in society, what it means to their careers, to the careers of their friends and their relatives. And so I'm excited to hear, young people are thinking about this, young men as well. And like I said, I think we need everybody working on this.
Do you hear of schools around Indiana County that have specific programs that reach out to their students, their female students, to guide them into careers? And I'm thinking here of STEM.
Yeah, I just heard about Project Lead the Way at Homer Center.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure the other schools are doing things. I maybe in a next program we can talk about that particular issue. But that's so important. I mean, starting when people are in their youth is critical. So that sounds like a good topic for another show.
Absolutely. We'll make it a topic for another show,
Sounds
but
good.
That's going to require you to do the homework because
I can do that.
I'm not as cued in as you are to some of the educational opportunities and some of the groups that are out there working on behalf of girls and women, and helping them to become workers in the field and leaders in companies.
Yeah, and you can be a leader in non-paid work as well. So I just want our young women and women out there to know that paid work is very important, but the volunteer work is also important.
Women in History Month. A couple of moments left with Sherene Hess, the Indiana County Commissioner, as you think about people who have helped you along the way in your years of service. I'm sure there are women who have helped you in probably ways that at the time you didn't even consider.
I think that's true. My speaking of scouts, my scout leader from when I was a kid was very supportive, very patient, and just so very giving. I had women in college who helped me, certainly women mentors when I first started working. Even now, I mean, I'm always looking to, folks for advice, and and people now look to me, and I'm really humbled and pleased by that. But that's the natural progression of things. You are given much, and hopefully you have the ability to give back, and that's what I'm honored to do these days.
She's Indiana County Commissioner Sherene Hess. March is Women's History Month, and she'll be back. We'll talk more about this topic as this month unfolds. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Great. Thank you, Todd.